What happens when a system designed to heal decides not to look back? On July 3rd, 2025, the Napa County Sheriff's Department responded to a call just before dusk. A man had been found lying face down in a pool of his own blood. No gunshots, no loud struggle. The man was 40-year-old Noel Batres, a well-known local with no enemies and no criminal record. Within 12 hours, deputies had a suspect, and the entire state of California had a problem. Because that suspect was Ramiro Mendoza, a man just released days earlier under California's mental health diversion program. This is not just a murder case. It's a story about trust, about policy, about whether second chances can come with deadly consequences. Welcome to Curell Case Files. I'm Nick, and this is the case of the man California set free to kill again. Ramiro Mendoza was no stranger to the law. Born in 1982 in Vallejo, California, Mendoza's early life was marked by instability. His mother struggled with substance abuse. His father left before Mendoza turned 5. By age 13, Mendoza had his first juvenile court date for burglary. At 17, he was caught shoplifting. At 19, battery charges. And from there, things escalated. He became part of a growing population in California's justice system, repeat offenders with documented mental health diagnoses. By 2020, Mendoza had racked up over a dozen arrests, but one diagnosis changed everything: schizophrenia with bipolar features. Subject exhibits delusions, auditory hallucinations, mood instability, and history of non-compliance with medication. In 2022, California expanded Penal Code 1001.36, allowing certain defendants with mental illness to avoid jail entirely through what's called mental health diversion. The logic? If a person's crime is tied to a treatable disorder, the best remedy is care, not punishment. But the law didn't require strict oversight, and in late June 2025, Mendoza was arrested once more, this time for misdemeanor drug possession. He was released just days later under this law. No ankle monitor, no inpatient program, just paperwork and a scheduled therapy appointment. He never showed up. Noel Batres, 40, was a quiet man, worked construction, paid his bills, lived in a modest single-story home near Imola Avenue in Napa. He wasn't famous, he wasn't controversial, he wasn't even unlucky. He was just home. That day, July 3rd, he had spent the morning running errands, stopped by a local market, and returned to his driveway around 5:45 p.m. I heard a thud, maybe like someone fell, but it was quiet, no yelling, just nothing. Then I saw him there, lying in the driveway, and I ran out screaming. Noel had been stabbed multiple times. The wounds were precise, fast, and fatal. There were no signs of a robbery. His wallet was still in his pocket, but investigators quickly found something else. Witnesses told police they saw a man in a gray hoodie and black jeans walking away from Noel's block about 20 minutes before the body was found. Security footage from a liquor store 2 streets down captured the same man, walking quickly, head down, blood on his right sleeve. We slowed the footage, ran it through facial recognition, and the match came back fast. Ramiro Mendoza. He'd been released from holding just 4 days earlier. His prints were still in the system. Police obtained a warrant and arrested Mendoza at 2:16 a.m. on July 4th at a bus depot near Fairfield. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. And he had Noel Batres' blood on his hands and under his fingernails. The public outrage was immediate. News broke that Mendoza was released under a law that wiped clean his latest charge. The murder? Preventable, many said. And soon, California officials had to answer hard questions. Critics are calling for a full repeal of Penal Code 1001.36 after a murder committed by a recently released mental health diversion recipient. We built this law to help people, but there are gaping holes. No one checked to see if Mendoza even showed up for treatment. That's unacceptable. Meanwhile, Mendoza was formally charged with first-degree murder, and bail was denied. The deeper investigators looked, the more disturbing the picture became. Mendoza had missed 4 scheduled therapy appointments in 2024. He had been kicked out of 2 prior diversion programs for aggression, and he had already been deemed a moderate risk for community violence by the state's own psychiatrist. But that information? Never used in court. Because his most recent offense wasn't violent. The law is the law. He qualified. The court followed protocol. That's not on us. But for Noel Batres' family, protocol wasn't enough. Noel's sister, Maria, stood outside the courthouse during Mendoza's arraignment. "He was my brother. He was good. He never hurt anyone. You let a killer go free. You gave him the weapon when you gave him freedom." In court, Mendoza said nothing. His attorneys cited mental incompetence and requested a delay. A psychiatric evaluation was ordered. But the public had already made its judgment. California's diversion law is still in effect. Over 3,000 people have been released under it since 2022. Most never reoffend. But when one does, it's catastrophic. Advocates argue the system needs monitoring, not repealing. Critics want accountability. When you release someone like Mendoza without a safety net, you're not giving them a second chance. You're giving them a silent countdown. Mendoza's trial is scheduled for early 2026. He's been ruled mentally competent to stand. The prosecution is seeking life without parole. But the real trial, the one playing out on talk shows, in legislative chambers, and online, is about how we balance mercy with justice. In the hours before the murder, Mendoza was seen wandering aimlessly through downtown Napa. Surveillance showed him staring at reflections, talking to no one. Some say he was spiraling. Others say he knew exactly what he was doing. Police believe Mendoza had a past dispute with Beatriz, possibly a brief argument over a shared neighbor or a parking space. But nothing justifies what happened next. We all believe in redemption. But what if the safety net meant to catch the broken ends up snapping beneath someone else's feet? What if the second chance given to one man becomes the last chance for another? Noel Beatriz will never get to grow old. Mendoza was free to kill, and California must now decide what price should be paid for mercy. I'm Nick. This has been a Curell case file. If you believe justice must include accountability, leave a comment below, subscribe, and join us next week as we open another case where the system let something or someone slip through.